Welcome, brothers and sisters, to another segment of Moments with the Master. My name is Brother Trinity, and I'm one of the ministers and deacons here at the Trinity God's Church of Christ. And today I want to talk to you about how we as Christians should learn to love those who don't love us. How we as Christians should learn to love those who don't love us. We're going to continue to look at Jesus' Sermon on the Mountain. And in this sermon, we're going to focus on Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 through 48. And in this particular text, Jesus talks about how we as Christians should love our enemy. Essentially, he's telling us that we should love those who don't necessarily care for us, who may want to harm us as opposed to bless us. There's a few things that we can learn from this text. Number one is that love can overcome evil. That love can overcome evil. In fact, in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, Paul talks about love, and he talks about how love never fails. And in Romans 12, in chapter 20, in verse 21, he also tells us how we should overcome evil with good. So what does this tell us as Christians? It tells us that when someone tries to mistreat you, as opposed to retaliating, you should show them love. When people try to lie on you or run your name through the mud, or even do something that may cause you distress in your life, your response should be to show them love. Now, naturally, we want to harm those who want to harm us. But as Christians, what separates us from the world is our willingness to love those who don't love us. In fact, Jesus talks about it in verse 46. He says, even tax collectors, using them as examples of people within the world, even they love those who love them. The second thing we can learn from this text is that we can become more like Christ by loving those who don't love us. That we can become more like Christ when we love those who don't love us. If you look at Jesus, that's what he was really well known for, loving people. And as Christians, when we love others who don't love us, we start to walk and talk and even act and even think more like Christ. Now, again, I know this is a difficult thing to do, but this is what as Christians, what God expects from us. In fact, Jesus gave us the ultimate example of loving those that don't love us by dying on the cross. When Jesus died and bled on the cross, he was essentially dying for people who cared nothing about him. He was dying for people who did not appreciate him. But at the time, he understood that those people needed his love more than they needed his wrath. And even us, he knew that some almost 2,000 years later, we were going to need that same love. And even though some of us, when we were lost and out there in the streets doing our own thing, Jesus still loved us, even when we didn't have sense enough to love him. And if Jesus were willing to love us when we didn't love him, we should be willing to love others, even though they may not care for us or want to see good done towards us. So I just want to encourage you today to be willing to show kindness and compassion to those who may not be willing to, in return, show you kindness and compassion. Be willing to love those who don't love you. Be willing to follow the example that Jesus set on the cross. And in doing so, you will be able to love people who don't love you. Thanks again for joining us for another segment of Moments with the Master. Until next time, may God keep you and bless you.